What's goody show? Trying to hear the most woke, no dope, and we're back at it again with a brand new edition of Top 5 Songs. Now today's Top 5 comes from the album Clean by Soccer Mommy, and if you don't know who Soccer Mommy is, it's the product of 20-year-old Sophie Allison, kind of a new face in the dreamy indie bedroom pop scene, who's making a lot of waves on Bandcamp since 2015. While SoundCloud is a platform of choice for remix DJs and meme rappers, it seems like Bandcamp is like the haven for the more indie, artsy, experimental kinds of music. But I kind of got ahead of myself. If you don't know what bedroom pop is, it's kind of like a DIY, lo-fi, intimate, dreamy sort of type of music that I think is kind of like a minimalistic, psychedelic indie kind of thing. Now the album Clean, which I consider to be a concept album about the struggle for a young person to navigate and understand love and relationships when things go wrong, is Sophie's third album, but really this is her first debut full project, and that was a lot to say, but I'd be doing the album a disservice if I didn't explain all that background. So without any further ado, let's get into the top 5. Cool is the closest thing to a punk song the album offers, as Sophie sings about a girl named Mary who, unlike Sophie, navigates through her love life and love interests like a badass, stringing dudes along, playing them, and even standing up dates with them to go smoke in a bowl with friends. Sophie admires this Mary girl and how brutal she can be with dudes, and she even calls her an animal at one point, because Mary kind of represents everything Sophie wishes she could be, and she even says as much on the chorus. The funny thing about this song though is how it follows the album's intro, Still Clean, where we see kind of a reverse situation where Sophie's on the receiving end of the kind of treatment that Mary gives to dudes. Even the animal metaphors there, Sophie describes the guy she was involved with as a wolf on the hunt for romantic victims. But it's kind of unclear here whether Sophie admires Mary for her dismissive attitude toward love interests and relationships that seem to throw themselves at her, or if it's more about Mary having the confidence and actually knowing what to do when those situations come her way. Either way, Cool has one of the more catchier hooks on the album, and even though I feel like the song could benefit with the more presence on the percussion, it probably wouldn't fit in with that album or the genre in general. I just wanted to hear more Ride on the hook. Last Girl is a paranoia-ridden exercise in unhealthy comparisons where Sophie wonders why the guy she's with right now could ever really like her when his ex was way better than her in every way, she thinks. Lines like "she would be so nice to wake up to," "she's got hips that hypnotize," and "she's the sun in your cold world and I'm just a dying flower" really show that this is less of a passing observation and more of a long-term obsession. The song is driven by a pretty cool bass groove and is the only song on the whole album where the vocal performance is energetic the whole way through and not mellow at some parts and energetic in others. But we do see Sophie again making unhealthy comparisons between herself and another female, and also showing self-doubt in her own relationships, which makes me believe that what she saw so cool in Mary wasn't the dismissive attitude toward love interests, but rather the confidence and self-assuredness she felt in the face of those love interests. And I'm really feeling the mellow composition on the bridge and how well it works to accentuate the even greater sense of self-doubt than is already shown on the verses and the chorus before switching back to the main melody. Like I said earlier, I see Clean as not just an album filled with songs about love, but as a concept album. So from here, my rankings get more weighted thematically than by composition. That said, Your Dog is the lead single of this album and by far the most popular Soccer Mommy song. Sophie tends to keep her verses short and not mince words, and she definitely does that here with the opening line of, "I don't want to be your fucking dog that you drag around, a collar on my neck tied to a pole, leave me in the freezing cold." You really can't get much more straightforward than that. Your Dog is one of the 2, maybe 3 songs on the album where Sophie, or really the character Sophie is portraying, shows something more than self-doubt and a defeated attitude. In Sophie's own words, the song comes from a feeling of being paralyzed in a relationship in the past where you feel like you are a pawn in someone else's world. The song and the video are meant to show someone breaking away and taking action, but at the same time it's only a quick burst of motivation. It's a moment of strength amidst a long period of weakness. And as the lead single to the album, it may not have been written this way, but it's worth noting that this song directly follows Cool, so it makes me wonder if this quick burst of motivation was inspired by watching Mary. Scorpio Rising is a somber ballad mixed with even more paranoia and even more self-deprecation. Think Taylor Swift's Dear John, except John never cheats, he just happens to check out another girl. With lines like "kiss you in the park, we'll meet up after dark," and ignore the missed calls from your mother. Sophie seems to be describing a budding high school relationship that she's having with a guy that she feels she needs to now end because he happened to give another girl some attention. And it's worth noting that she only ever mentions that he looked her over, and Sophie's usually pretty good with setting the scene to making sure she's descriptive, so it's safe to assume that that's all that happened here. And since this is the second to last full song of the album, it feels like her paranoia and defeatist approach to relationships is reaching its apex, as she seems like she wants to end a relationship with a guy over what might not be anything at all. But she doesn't want to just end the relationship, she wants to actually push this guy toward the girl. And she even describes the girl as being not so far. And since this is about high schoolers, I'm assuming this is less about distance and more about this girl being someone that the two of them actually have a relationship with. Like, they actually know this girl. Which makes it even weirder, honestly. And I won't lie, the first line of the chorus is kind of confusing when paired with the second. So Sophie, if you can hit your boy up, I'm just not woke enough to understand that one. Anyway, it feels like Scorpio Rising is the true climax of the album, showing us that after going through so many romantic issues, some by the hands of others, some self-inflicted, Sophie doesn't know how to respond to even the slightest of perceived bumps in a relationship and just bolts at the first sign of any kind of trouble. And I'll admit, I don't know very much about astrology, but apparently people with Scorpio Rising signs have tendencies of self-destructive behavior and paranoia. And I won't get into my personal opinions on astrology, but it seems to fit the theme of the song well enough, so we'll go with it.
I found God on Sunday morning, laying next to you.
I probably mentioned this 5 times now, but I'm using a more thematic approach to ranking these songs. And while Wildflowers isn't the most exciting song on the album, it is the most impactful, both lyrically and in its message. Whereas Your Dog is a short-lived display of strength, Wildflowers seems to be more of a resolution to do better, be better, and have a little bit more optimism for the future. Sophie compares herself to a wildflower in the city, praying for the pavement to crack, and with lines like, I want to be who I wasn't, I want to dance in that field of blue, followed by a few religious metaphors and wishes to do and be better, it really does feel like Sophie is planning to make a change. Even though the tone still does sound a little defeatist, there is a sense of optimism behind it that, like I said, you don't get on the rest of the album. Overall, I think Clean is a pretty great album, and Soccer Mommy does a really great job of telling a story. And if it's not a concept album, then I may have just fucked up the whole review. Anyway, but it really surprised me because it's such a good debut album in a genre that's not really all that popular and is not really all that accessible when you get to the deeper cuts. You can listen to it down below in the description. I have a link to the Spotify. Let me know what you think in the comments below. You already know to do that like button. Slap this button right here to subscribe. And tell this button over here you don't want to be its fucking dog to watch more videos. Namaste. Back sooner than you think.